So as you know, I'm Scott Meyer, CEO, co-founder of Chip. And one thing that Chip allows you to do is to build AI that you can sell. You can brand it, you can sell it. There's lots of different ways to do it though. So I think it's really interesting to hear from you all how you're doing it, as well as me sharing kind of what we're learning and some of the price points, as you guys noted, that are important. So we'll kind of go old school business school here. We're going to talk through the 5 Ps. Usually it's 3 Ps, but I added a few for you. So usually it's product, price, place, and sometimes promotion. I'm going to add positioning as well, because I think that's really important in the AI space right now, how to position. So the more Ps, the better. I like it. Yeah, exactly. So we're going to give you all your money's worth on Ps today. So we're going to talk through how to position Chip, what you can actually sell, how you might price it, where you might find those customers, and then how you might actually promote it. And again, a lot of this is going to be dependent, but I don't want the whole talk to be like, it depends on your industry, right? I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. This is not law, right? So you can price obviously where your market will benefit from it. So one thing I'm going to mention quite a bit is our Gold Partner Program. A number of you are already Gold Partners, but I want to put this link up both so you have it afterwards when I send you the slides, but also if you want to become a Gold Partner, especially after hearing this talk, you can go learn more here. If you are a potential buyer or you want to get help from a Gold Partner, you can go here as well. And you can use a Chip Chat right on the page to search for people. So if you need someone to build an API connection, or you need someone to build a branded HQ, or to build a tutor, whatever it might be. Yeah, the guy does look familiar. You can go there. Thanks, Mario, for dropping that in. So let's talk the first P, positioning. How do we talk about AI and specifically Chip? There's so much out there, right? We need to really be clear on how we position it. So one thing that we're kind of seeing is increased adoption, which makes it more important to talk about the why rather than just here's AI, right? So we know that 63% of American adults are using AI several times a week. And businesses are starting to see positive ROI. But the key here is this research report from Wharton, which is a really great read. That's looking at businesses that are enterprise. So they're looking at 50 million plus, 500 million plus, and 1 billion plus, right? So these are massive companies. And I think what we are seeing is that massive companies have the budget to take all these ingredients and build something and then deploy it. And that's actually what you can do for people who aren't that massive company, right? You can actually take the place of an R&D department for an enterprise and offer it via Chip. So we call this the Chip flip, which is we think that every business should have the same opportunity as enterprises, right? So an enterprise can use AI and build it, but actually we think that AI is ripe to be sort of like e-commerce. You can imagine when Shopify came out, right? That all of a sudden a startup like my wife's jewelry store could have as good of an e-commerce experience as a massive enterprise, right? Because Shopify made it easy to set up and use e-commerce. And I think that about Chip. Like Chip can really make it easy to build and manage a bunch of AI agents for any business. You don't have to have $100 million budget, right? So that's kind of where I see positioning Chip work really well, is taking what's working for massive companies and offering it as good or better for smaller companies, right? And when we position, what I've been seeing is this transition from assistants to agents. So people are talking more about agents than assistants. We can get into what that actually means, but I think for the general public, it's kind of becoming the same thing, whether or not you want it to be. In my mind, agents will do stuff for you, right? Assistants you always have to talk to. But I think people are a little bit more excited about the term agents. What I'm actually seeing a lot of, I guess, people getting excited about is moving from agents to agency, meaning how do I help my clients or my buyers own and control the AI, right? So it's not just that I'm buying an agent, but it's realizing that I'm going to have to modify this. I'm going to have to train it. I'm going to, like Andre's doing, like, I'm going to have to test it and then be like, oh, it's not quite right. And so I think it works better when companies and individuals have the ability to do that. So I think really leaning into the idea that Chip gives agency rather than just a box that you use is a really good positioning for folks like us. Let's see. I want to just go forward. Let's try that. I'm trying a new display model here. Let's just present. You still see that okay? We still got it, or did it switch screens on me? Okay. So the other thing that's interesting is the agency, the ability to do something is actually becoming more important than just straight up intelligence. So for a long time, the models were improving so quickly that the newest model gave you significant advantage over the previous model. What I'm seeing now is there's what we would call like product overhang, meaning there's so much you can build and so much value you can create with existing models that adding the newest model doesn't necessarily give your clients a huge leap. Instead, it's really getting them to take agency and actually build something with the tools that already exist. And then you can layer on the better model and get even better performance, right? But the blocker is not intelligence, it's more agency. And I love Andre Karpathy, who's a big AI researcher and kind of thought leader, called this out that agency is significantly more powerful and more scarce. I think about this a lot as a parent, right? Is like, how do I get my kids to take agency? It's not about learning the thing, it's about being willing to do the thing because they can learn the thing or they can use AI to help them learn the thing. But you really have to be able to ask the question first. So when I talk to potential clients, one of the things I'm always looking for is there someone on the team that is curious and willing to try? It doesn't have to be the CTO or the CIO. It could be the front desk person, the secretary. Often we find it's better grassroots because those are the people who have experience with the tasks, but you need someone who either has agency or wants to have agency and you can help them. And when we give people who have agency or curiosity in an AI tool, it works best when that AI tool is specific and tailored. So it's specific for their tasks. It's native to their brand. So that's going to distinguish Chip from off-the-shelf tools that they might go use. It's going to be native to their company. So it's going to understand their voice. Andre wants it to write annual reports like they have written annual reports before, right? So it has to be native to how they work. And it has to be native to their knowledge. So both the voice and company knowledge. And that's one way that Chip can really stand out is you can train it on that information and put it onto a company website or interior pages. So one term that we've found that's been resonating quite well is brand native AI. So the idea that you with Chip can build an AI that's native to their brand or company. So that means native in knowledge, native in looks, native in voice, native in privacy, right? So that they are safe within kind of their guardrails. And so I think that's a really nice way to kind of think about how do I build agency for someone by giving them a brand native AI tool. So the positioning is helpful, but people don't want to buy a hammer. They want to have the nail in the wall, right? So they're often looking for something that solves their problem. And maybe their problem is we need to integrate AI because my boss is telling me to. But more often it's I want to work faster. I want to be able to find mentors for my investment companies. I want to be able to generate marketing material based on customer feedback. I want to answer questions on the phone without having to hire a receptionist, right? So positioning on one hand is thinking about how to talk about the AI bit, but I think even more importantly is what are we going to sell as a solution, right? So let me walk through different ways people are selling AI, and then we'll talk about price points for each of these. There's not one that's better than the other, but what you want to think about is, are you trying to maximize price or are you trying to minimize time? So some of these you could sell to a lot of people and have minimal time involvement, and that, could make a lot of money. I think for most of us, we don't probably have massive followings of people looking to buy something from us. Like we're not YouTube influencers, right? Where there are thousands of people looking to buy a pre-built thing. Often what I'm seeing is that the best Chip partners are offering some type of customized solution that allows them to charge a lot more and often bundle with service. All right. So when I think about how to sell, I think about, are you selling something that's pre-built and standard, or are you selling something that's custom for the client? And then is it going to be, kind of, actually, this is the wrong slide, but the right idea. So let me take two. Let me finish talking about Chip because this is how I talked about it at the conference, but I'm going to make a version of this for how to sell Chip. So as we position Chip, just kind of the last thoughts here. Standard, custom, hard, easy. When people ask like why Chip versus N8N or versus ChatGPT, this is what I was thinking about. So we often talk about something like ChatGPT is easy but standard, right? Like the voice is out of the box. It's always working the same way. You can't control the look and feel. That's great for some uses, right? But you might want to get more custom. And that's what I was kind of jumping ahead to. Sometimes people will build custom stuff with a tool like an N8N. It's quite hard, right? Like it's a huge kind of workflow to build. And also it's pretty tough to maintain. If something breaks, you have to go through each step to figure out what trigger is not working. And so a lot of times we're talking about Chip as kind of that easy custom solution for that brand native. That's kind of where that slide was. And some of the big things that have come out since we last had a workshop, and we're just kind of dropping these on the blog now, is the ability to offer voice, both via phone and via web voice, video generation, then access to all of the different models, including private models. And if you want any of those features and don't have them, just reach out. Anyone with a paid plan, those are already on for, and then new signups will get them kind of as we go. The other big announcement we've had since we last spoke is the ability to confidently tell your users how Chip is private. And we offer a couple different options now for that. So since forever, Chip does not use any information for training. So nothing you build, even on the free plan, is used for training. So that means I can't go into ChatGPT and say, what did Vinay say on his chat, right? Like it's not reused. New additions that we just launched in the last month is what's called Zero Data Retention, or ZDR. This is now available on all of the Anthropic models and all of the Google models. OpenAI, not surprisingly, doesn't offer this, right? So it tells you a little bit of like the positioning, right? So if you want zero data retention, that's on our business plan, $299 a month. And that means that nothing you say is saved by the large language model. So you don't have the chat history on Anthropic or on Gemini. It's all gone after you get your answers. So this solves a lot of compliance requests that people have. So if you have clients who need, that's an option. The other privacy that we added on is encryption for chat logs. So some companies have a strict requirement that nobody can see the chats, including Chip or including certain, editors on the app. So you can just enable chat log visibility for specific people. So those are all new ways that you can talk about Chip as a private kind of brand native experience. I think you maybe saw, but we're also SOC 2 certified. So you can go to trust.chip.ai as you are selling. If you need to send anybody 2 privacy documents, you can send them to this link. If you need those documents to be in your name, you can talk to me and we can figure out how to take off the Chip branding and give it to you as a white label. Now, you probably heard that we also are now building out MCP support. So this is Model Context Protocol, which lets you connect Chip to lots of other tools. And as we get to that conversation now about customizing, this is going to be a really powerful way to do that. So this is a look at, some of the tools now that are integrated. Google Suite integrated. We'll have a video coming out about that. Slack is integrated, so I can actually search through Slack conversations and pull those into Chip. Obviously, Notion and other tools. So when we think about customizing, you can now do customization for a lot quicker than you used to be able to, and that'll help you charge more. And so think about talking about Chip as like a brand native AI experience, and then we can get into the specific solutions as we talk about product. So again, people don't want to just buy the hammer. They want the nail in the wall, right? And so we need to think about what are we going to sell that gives them a solution. So here's where I thought I was previously, but here's how I would think about building Chip in kind of 4 quadrants. So we have the standard and the custom versions of Chip. So standard being you build one thing and you sell it to everybody. Custom being like it's specific for that company or that group. And then we have kind of the DIY versus the do it for you. Some people are selling Chip as here's a builder thing for you and you can go build your own stuff. Other people are going the other way and saying we're going to build everything for you, right, and hand it to you. Again, no right or wrong, but what we're finding is as you move towards the top, you can generally charge more, but it probably takes a little bit more time. So you got to figure out for your use case, how much time are you spending per customer? Is that worth the price you're going to charge? So here's what I'm seeing people do to sell. On the bottom left, if you want to sell a DIY experience that's standard, people are selling a builder experience or a workspace. Often that's built, maybe with templates. So this is often just like an affiliate play where you're selling Chip to somebody. You're maybe helping them with some templates, but they're essentially going to go in and build their own thing. So you're saying, I'll set up your privacy. I'll give you kind of the interface. You go from there. Some people want to sell more custom apps that are can be customized by the client. So this is kind of our HQ offering. I'll show you how HQ works, but essentially HQ is a bundle of apps, and those could be specific to an industry, could be specific to a use case, and you can either allow them to use those apps without modifying them, or you can allow them to be more DIY where they duplicate them and modify them. So you have some flexibility, and I'll show you some new ways you can sell that. Now, one of the newest offerings that we just came out with, and I would recommend you all thinking about as well, we're calling Chip Exec, which is just having a standard app that you customize for the client. So what we've seen as being really successful is having a customer support agent, a customer kind of education or FAQ agent, and a marketing or internal ops agent. So in this case, I'm selling an app. I tell people exactly what they're going to get, what it does. But when they sign up, I'm going to build it just for them, right? So I get their docs, their website. I'm basically taking the HQ, duplicating everything for that client, and then modifying for it and training them on it. So that's, I think, a pretty successful way we've seen a lot of agencies go about it. And then we also have people who are just straight up consulting and using Chip to build everything custom. So this would be where you're talking to the client and saying, what are your internal workflows? How do I help speed those up? And that's a lot more customer discovery. It's a lot more impact, and it's a lot harder for them to get rid of it, right? Because if you build yourself into their workflows, whether that's answering the phone or creating, grants or whatever it might be, like that's going to be pretty powerful. So again, no wrong answer, but these are sort of 4 ways that people are selling right now. And I'll kind of tell you price points around these. So I'll tell you again what I'm seeing, and then we can kind of show you examples, and would love to get your feedback on what you are seeing as well. So when we think about the builder experience, we're going to, go through each of these. The builder, what I'm typically seeing is people are either selling it just as an affiliate. So think like gold partners get 20% of whatever you sell, or they're selling it like a yearly access with pre-sold tokens. So the most common price point I've been seeing is that people are selling an annual plan to Chip, usually a team plan, $99 a month, and they're selling it at $2,500 a year. The reason they're doing that is they're essentially building in excess usage and also just time, right, for like admin-y things. A lot of times that $2,500 a year is being bundled with something else. So they might be offering AI consulting, they might be offering strategy, they might be offering even like design or SEO services. So oftentimes that kind of like, here's a builder with a few templates, that's kind of expected to come along something else, I would say. So that's kind of one model and price point that we've seen. The second way that we have seen it is for the HQ. So HQ is, you can think about it kind of like buying a product where it's going to be the same for everybody. And the more specific it is, generally the higher you can charge, right? So if you're building a bundled apps for lawyers, we're seeing people charge $200 to $500. If you're building a bundle of apps for just general business use case, $100 a month or something like that is often there. Now, this is custom in that you build it once, custom for that industry, but oftentimes they're just using it, what you've built, or they have to duplicate it and modify it themselves, right? So I think about the builder as like, go wild, build anything you want. The, kind of HQ experience is, here's the things, I built it for your industry, and now if you want to DIY it, you can. So that's kind of one price point, usually without as much service. For the exact, what we're charging, what I've seen other people charge is around $2,000 per app. And again, this is a lot more than the HQ, right? But you're doing everything for them, including probably onboarding, training, support. And often what I'll see is a price point like 2,000 per app, and then dropping down to 200 to 500 per month for analytics and just once a month check-ins sort of thing. So one of the things we don't have, the team to go out and support all of your clients, but one thing we would love to do is sell our exec package and then have our gold partners actually doing the work, right? So we pass those off to the gold partners who are the ones building it. And as we announced yesterday, like we have kind of this exec package with our gold partners. Then what we're planning on is, if they're interested, they would get $1,500 per client that they're servicing per app, and then we would keep $500. And then that only includes one deployment. So either web, phone, or WhatsApp, and they have to pay for additional deployments. So that's kind of one model we are testing. I know personally, like as I've built these out individually, 2,000 to 5,000 for like a personally designed app is not crazy at all. Like that is very doable. The more specific, the better, right? Because that's what people are willing to pay for. So then on the consult side, varies drastically. What I'm seeing people charge, if you're charging for just like AI integration services, where you're going to go do consulting, listen to what they want, build stuff from scratch using Chip or other tools, might be 5 to 15K as like an intro package to build something. And then a lot of times they're bundling in that Chip builder on top of it. So you could think about, I'm going to charge you, 10K and I'll build 5 apps for you based on your needs. It's going to run on chip. The chip expense is 2,500 a year, and that covers essentially the platform. So you can think about chip as sort of like if you're building a website as a web designer, you would charge them for hosting and maybe Squarespace and whatever else, but you're still going to charge them to design and build the site, right? So that's how I would think about it with AI is like you have your product that you have to pay for, your platform. That could be chip. That could be, a pro plan on OpenAI. That could be NNN, like whatever platform you're using, you're going to want to line item that out so that if they stop working with you, they still are paying you for that expense or it's going on their credit card, right? But then you want to charge them for this service. So that's kind of how I've seen 4 different models. And obviously there's a lot of in between, right? Like HQs start to blend into exec as you customize it. Maybe a consult starts as standard and then it gets more specific. So what I'd love to do is show you what some of these look like and then get your kind of feedback. So let's talk a little bit about place, like how you can sell these and what they end up looking like. So one of the things that I've found is that education is a really good way to sell. People want to learn. And if we think about agency as the reason they might go with you or Chip versus just going with a off-the-shelf solution, it probably makes sense to lead with agency, right? To like start teaching them. So obviously we do workshops, but a lot of times I'll go into a potential client, or I know Gold Partners will go in, and the first step is actually to teach them about what AI can do, right? And what are the limits and what's possible. So think about one place to sell is via education. That might be workshops or courses or tools, but you might want to make that more specific. The more specific you are, the further right and up we get, and usually the higher you can charge. So I know one of our Gold Partners, they were selling hospitality. And so they went to WTM in London, which is a specific event for people in hospitality, right? So now you're educating to people in the place, talking about the thing that you've built, right? So instead of putting a workshop up online for everybody, you do it for, you do it for hospitality industry who are running hotels of 5 to 15 chains, right? Now your solution gets more custom and more impactful, and your education is probably more interesting. I've also found that membership organizations are just an amazing way to get into a niche and to find customers. And the membership org themselves might be a customer or a channel partner, meaning someone who will help you sell. I took a screenshot of this because I love that there is the American Association of Association Executives. So it's literally a member org of member orgs, right? So like the fact that there's a member org of member orgs probably means there's some kind of place where your specific industry hangs out, whether it's a LinkedIn group, whether it's a professional organization like this. But that's a really nice place to educate, to participate, and to share knowledge, right? Because you can build trust. And once you have 1 or 2 case studies in that area, they're going to tell the other people in that area. So another place that you can market is with Chip. So our Gold Partners can host workshops or post content on our blog, and we help promote that. And so Alfredo did a talk at our conference as an example, and we showed his post on how to use AI voice, right? As a post on our blog, we send that out to everybody. So if you're a Gold Partner, like you can do that, right? Send stuff over, talk to Maria, she can help you get started. If you're not a Gold Partner, that's a great reason to join because you can sort of get support building content, like we'll help you create it, but also distribution. So whether it's through us or other people with audience, think about jumping in front of the parade, right? Like who are people who have audience, who maybe are talking to the ideal customer for you, and how do you get them to either interview you or you do an interview with them and put it on a blog or social media post, like getting other people to share instead of you sharing your own bag, right? Like is a really helpful way to grow. That's kind of place. So again, as I mentioned, Gold Partners, great place to distribute. You can browse people there and kind of see what other people on this call are building too. So let's kind of dive into how some of this looks, what we're seeing works online, and then we can kind of open it up for discussion. So I think the biggest thing that AI really unlocks and it helps you stand out from other tools or competitors is show, don't tell. Like with AI and with Chip, you can so quickly build something for a pitch, for a lead, for a phone call. You don't have to wait for them to say they want something. I really encourage you to build something that people can start using just to see what's possible. Hopefully you see that on Chip already, but I'll kind of show you how we're trying to do this. So one page that we've launched in partnership with Nexa that does hospitality is a hospitality specific page, right? And so I'll show you this, but this is, a chip. This is an iframe. Like this is our iframe from chip built into a phone, and people can start chatting with it. We have a new feature that I can dive in and show you as well under tags, where you can now get lead notifications. And so you can add a tag for someone chatting on your iframe about pricing or about services or about wanting this or that. And it'll send you an email of their details. So that's a really nice way for you to generate leads from like a passive, website, but it's showing people what you can build and you can follow up with them. The other thing that Next has done that's I think super powerful, again, is showing results rather than just talking about results. So in this case, they built a Google dashboard. It combines Google Analytics and Chip chat logs, and they're able to give their client super specific data on how much revenue they earned from their WhatsApp chats powered by Chip, right? So all they're doing is they have Chip built into WhatsApp. When they it'll say like a link to a room, and it adds like a referral tag onto the link, which you can do in the instructions. And then on Google Analytics, they're able to see how much did the customer spend from the referral Chip, right? And then they can pull that into a dashboard pretty easily. And all of a sudden they have like a very powerful case for that client, right? So I think that's a great example of show, don't tell. So I want to show some of these examples, but I want to just pause for a second and take questions. So Maria, can you take the question? I need to go grab a power cord. I'll be back in 20 seconds. So maybe you can take Vinay's question first. See if you can answer that one. I'll be right back.
That's a good question because I don't know the answer. I think we need to wait for Scott for that one or something.
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends mostly on if you're paying for OpenAI as well. So it's always like the free plan versus the paid ones also have different tiers. It's really interesting to see that though, because these are all like shifting that Scott mentioned now. Like that's very recently added in for the zero data retention as well. So it's like a moving target where you like they change every day or every week, as we know.
Yes. Scott, Maria, and I were just talking about that ChatGPT within the chip wrapped experience versus just directly, and how that might pertain to the SOC 2 compliance and data sharing. So you mentioned that zero data retention thing, but today, if someone uses ChatGPT directly versus ChatGPT through Chip, is there a difference in what OpenAI might save?
Yeah. ChatGPT by default saves and uses everything for future models. If you pay, you can shut it off, but you have to have a paid plan and go to settings and click off. Even when you shut it off, they're still storing the data. Anthropic has a 30-day deletion policy. So they store everything for 30 days and then they delete it. Google, I don't know Google's out of the box policy. Generally, anything via API is not used for training. So whenever you build your own tools, that API won't be used for training, which is why Chip's always been that way because we're using the API. So privacy is a big one. Also the answers, because they have their own system prompts, right? And so with the Chip instructions, you can override. You essentially can have different results. We also combine models. When you choose a model on Chip, you're choosing essentially the text. We don't give you a choice on video or image, kind of just making the decision for you and using Nano Banana because that's the best image from our point of view, and Veo 3.1. So you can use ChatGPT thinking and text, but get the power of Veo and the image from Nano Banana. And so the hope for us is we pick the best tools and combine them for you is kind of where we'd like to keep pushing. Yeah.
And so if you're building an app, let's say the most custom app, just for argument's sake, in that upper right quadrant, and you're using ChatGPT as underlying model, you've now added proprietary resources for the client to this app. Is it correct to say that the knowledge sources that you add to the model are not shared with OpenAI, but whatever dialogue happens in the AI chat, some or all of it might be shared with OpenAI? Is that the right way to talk about it with the client?
It's almost the flip. So anytime you upload a file and you ask a question that references or needs information from that file, that's going to be sent to OpenAI, and that file chunk is going to be stored by them. If you don't want that, Chip then gives you that power. So ChatGPT is the only model that doesn't support that. So essentially on Chip, you would have the business plan. So that gives you zero data retention. And then nothing you say, whether it's file or text, gets stored by Google or Anthropic. So if a client doesn't want any information shared outside, that would be the best step for them. There's like a further step where you run open source models and nothing is stored anywhere. But basically what we're saying is like, Chip's going to have your information. We're going to keep it SOC 2 compliant, not give it out to these other models. So it kind of depends a little on what they want and compliance. The other one I didn't talk as much about, but we do offer private clouds by location. So that's quite big for some users. So unlike OpenAI, out of the box, with Chip, you can set it up to be in the UK or in Brazil or in Dubai or in Australia, which a lot of times is necessary for data compliance. So that's a big benefit if you have someone who has like compliance needs. Yeah, great question. Let's see, what other questions? You want to shout them out here? I can look to. About the agentic side of Chip. Yeah, let me show you guys a few examples of this. We've been doing a lot internally with, I'd say, more agentic use of Chip. So let me just show my entire screen here. And I'll give you an example. Like we've been really leaning into what is this called? Slack as like the trigger for a lot of our knowledge. And so one of the things we're doing now is like in our testing channel, we built an agent on Chip that is called Bug Bridge, and it ties into our linear board. And if we tag Bug Bridge, so here you can see Josue was helping us test. He said these models aren't producing. He tagged Bug Bridge. Now Bug Bridge goes into linear and is creating a ticket for all of this. And that's via our ProAction. So our MCP ties into linear. And then we've actually connected linear into Cursor, which is our development tool. And so Cursor actually starts fixing this bug for us. So what we've seen is like we are now having self-improvement. I owe my gold partners a video, but if you are a gold partner, you have a Slack channel and you can tag any bugs or features you want. And essentially that will start building it. And we look at that obviously to make sure it works and all of that, but essentially you can be your own developer. So to me, this is an example of like agentic Chip, right? Where it's like doing stuff. It's like blurs the line between automation and agent because, this is like a waterfall of activity, but for all practical purposes, this is incredibly powerful. And then the other thing that you can do off of this is like, now I can tag other agents. So I can go in here and just say like, let's say Chip chat, write a blog post about this new feature, right? And so this is another Chip agent. And now if I tag it, it will bring it in. You can see it's thinking. So that's our thinking phase that it's doing its work. So you can think about now we have a team of agents, and in Slack, I'm able to tag the ones I want within a post, within a channel, and it'll take action. So this has been really game changing for us. Just the last 2 weeks, we kind of hooked all this stuff up and our velocity has increased dramatically. So you can think of other ways to do it. Like here's an example of, we have a new user channel. Let's see if there's someone who has like yeah, here's a good one. So we have our new user channel. So here Sergio signed up for Chip. We have an agent that automatically gets called Lead Loom, again, built on Chip. And this is a deep research agent that is now looking at this person and their company and is telling us how good of a lead it might be. This could be incredibly powerful for some of your clients who need to do research on specific topics. It could be dynamic like this, where it's like somebody comes in and Chip does research on them. But I could also see it being really helpful for, say, like a venture capitalist who needs to do research on a new company or a news item, right? So you could just have a channel in your Slack that's like news research or something. You can tag your agent and say, hey, do research on the latest updates in Fargo before I travel there or before I go invest in a company there or whatever it might be. So really powerful way to just like take the power of a deep research agent and bring it to wherever you work, whether it's Slack or Notion or CRMs, HubSpot, whatever it might be. So that's a really powerful use case. So I'll pause there to see if anybody has questions on that, because that's all very easily done. Essentially, you build the agent on Chip, you connect the agent on Slack, and then you just tag it, and it only answers when you tag it, which is a nice upgrade we made. If you used it previously, it would always answer. So you start to have it like self-referencing itself. But so this is much cleaner. So yeah, that was a great question, Chris, about the agentic side and some of the use cases I've seen.
Is it
That's an
possible?
exciting. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So is it possible to have that on the chat interface in the same way that you were using it with Slack?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe-
Yep. I'll show you that.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can, let's go desktop. So essentially what we're talking about here is creating like teams of agents, right? Where I can reference other agents. Yeah. So I was going to walk through how like examples of the types of sales that I mentioned. So I'll kind of do that at the same time. So this is an organization called Middle States. This is a great example of someone who bought the builder, right? So they're doing all their own stuff. I don't even know what these are. I helped them get started. So I did like a training session, and then they added all their people and they're just building on it. So that's a good example of like, hey, I'm going to maybe teach somebody, or I'm going to run a consulting session or a design sprint and give them Chip, and then they're going to go build stuff. Now, if they wanted to like call these other agents within a chat, they can go into their builder, and what they're able to do is connect a custom action here. So this might be agent 1, and I need to describe it. So like when someone asks for the weather, call agent 1. So this description is very important to tell the AI when to take action or when to use this agent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get the API from the other chip chat. So I'm going to click off of here so you can see that. So within any agent, we can go into access. No, let's share. Where's the API key? So yeah, here. So here's the API key. What's nice is we have this example request. So I can just copy this, and I can go into my custom agent or into my custom action, and it'll do everything for me. So I go in here to my custom action, add custom action. Imagine I put the title and description. I'm going to do import from curl. So this is like import from this example. And so this is essentially telling it how it all works. I just click parse. Now what it did is it went through and got my information. So I can kind of make sure that it looks right, and I can run a test. Right now, this is posting to that app, right? I probably want to get information from that app potentially. So you can kind of decide it. The methods are you trying to get information from it, or are you trying to post? I guess this would make sense because I'm going to say like, what's the weather? And it's going to go to the other agent and do it. So I would run the test. And if it works, it'll show me like how it did. So when I'm calling to this other agent, this other chip chat, it's going to follow that agent's instructions, right? So I say like, what's the weather? It's going to go to this other agent and pull the answers. So here you go. I went to that other agent. You can see the context. It followed that instructions, right? Like it didn't tell me the weather. It gave me that first message that they have trained in their instruction, and it'll show all of that. So that's the quick version. So you could essentially underneath custom actions, connect as many agents as you want. And the other trick to that, if you're using it internally, you can hit the / key and it'll actually do exactly what you want. So here's a great example is video generation. If I tell the AI, create a video of X, it will know that it should create a video. But you can imagine if you have different agents, it might get confusing. So let me actually show you one that I know is a good example. Let's go into, yeah. So this organization, I love this example. They have an agent that calls legislation in the United States. And so it'll actually go in and pull from different areas. So let's see if it's the right place. Yeah. So here you see all the custom actions. You can search legislative bills, get bill details, get bill text, search members. So if I ask a question, it's going to try to decide which one's best. But I could also just hit / and scroll to my search members and say like, who is on the Senate committee for defense or something like that, right? And now this is going out, getting that information from the congress.gov. You can see here it's looking at the list committees, and it's going to pull that information back. So we can get it from an API, we can get it from another chip chat, we can get it from Slack or Teams to pull that information in. But that's kind of how that works. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it does. Does it mean that can it be worked on in parallel? So, can you hand off a piece of work to an agent, and that agent then carries on doing stuff, and then when it's finished, come back? Is there any kind of automation, or is it just literally You
Yeah,
have
right
to
now
wait.
within
Yeah.
Chip, it's linear, so you have to wait for an answer before you do another one. In Slack, you can call different agents to different channels at the same time, so you could essentially run it that way. But like within one panel, yeah, we don't have any like async updates, I guess. That's
Yeah.
a great idea though. So just to show you other examples as we talk about how to price, like here's an example of an HQ for lawyers where it's branded. These are general, right? So I'd say it's a little lower price because everyone gets the same thing. Whereas I loved what Justin did. He built this for a pitch, right? So he was going to go pitch this car dealership. So we built an HQ for the car dealership to show them what they would be buying, right? So he built an HR assistant, a sales training. By the way, sales training with audio, my favorite use case right now. Imagine like you're training a sales agent and they can just talk and you in the instructions say like, test them on an angry mom, test them on an old person who can't hear, give them a person who doesn't have any money. Like you can give all the scenarios and they have to talk through it over and over. Really powerful. So
Nice.
you can see that. Yeah, go ahead.
Might just be a bit greedy because I haven't been
Please.
back with guys for a while. The voice thing I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've got that can briefly show us a little bit about the voice stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump into one of mine. So a couple things on voice. Right now it's fair game. We're not charging you for it. So that's why we haven't totally flipped the switch. Eventually that will go into usage-based pricing, and the price is actually lower than I originally thought. I thought it was roughly $1 per minute, but when I finally got in there, it's more like 15 to 20 cents per minute of usage. And again, you get 30% of your usage every month, right? So if you have a team plan, you have $30 of usage included every month. So you could have, what would that be, like 150 phone calls or something? I don't know what this app does, but let's drop into it. Yeah. So with voice, you have voice mode here. Oh, I'm not on this one. Go into my space. So when you go into, and just sort, this is a really good thing to bring up while this is loading. When you're selling, a couple things to think about now with the usage-based pricing. So officially usage-based pricing will be turned on for everyone December 15th. So you're going to have 2 weeks in December. We think that's a nice way for like, you will have kind of a bonus 2 weeks, right? Because you get your full monthly amount. The billing organization is this first one. So as you're selling to people, if you sell a workspace, but it's in your org, all of that usage is going to roll up to your organization, right? So that's just important to know. One thing that I know Mario is helpful for us was, can we put limits on specific users, specific apps? So that's all coming as well. So if you hand it out, you can't have one user use all of your usage.
Isn't that
Yeah.
the approach that you had before? I had users, they'd buy credits and the
Yep.
cost would be based on that. Is that no longer the case then?
No, you can still do that. Credit was always based on number of interactions. And so essentially we're moving to just usage based. So if they do a video versus text, like they can do a lot more text, right, than a video, for example, instead of just counting like every time they hit send. So same idea, just more attuned to like how the billing works for us. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, to show you voice, you can enable voice mode. You can choose any of the voices here. You can put a welcome greeting. This is for phone calls. This would be them talking first. So that's one thing you want to think about is like, is the human expected to talk first or is the AI going to talk to them before? So customer support, like you would expect the agent to say, hi, this is Scott. Can I help you? Right? So that's where that goes. And then you can spin up a phone number here. So we can add other countries. Any country supported by Twilio, we can add, which is about 100. So I know we had talked about adding the UK, so that's something we can
Yes.
add. So we're kind of just waiting for demand. But you just go in here, and what's nice is you can request a number, and if it's available, it'll show it. So I can search for like 701 numbers. That means it's in North Dakota. So if my customers are in North Dakota, they're going to be more likely to trust that. I click that save, that'll spin up the number. If we're doing voice on the web, you just have this microphone. It creates this particle cloud, and it'll ask to enable microphone, and then it'll just talk to you. So this will come up if this is not attuned for voice. So this is important. So when you're doing voice, you can't send as much information. So I'm using Gemini, so I have 1 million tokens. But you can see here that once I turn on voice mode, it's too much information. So I have to shorten my prompt to get it to enable voice on the web. But that's how it will work. And then I can call in the number as well. So I can look for a shorter one here. But any questions on that, Dominic?
So that would be similar to, I mean, if you think of what OpenAI have at the moment with their voice mode, so that would be pretty much the same. We are saying, but you've got control over it, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. It'll follow your instructions.
Exactly. It'll be consistent with the structure and flow we established together. That way, your pitch stays.
So you can see that one's talking about pitches, right? Because this is a pitch agent. Couple things to know is that voice agents can call tools. So all of those custom actions or pro actions you do, it will have access to. So if you're calling to the legislative bills or the weather or whatever, it'll be able to get that. So that's really when we talk about customizing or higher price, this is where I think you can really charge more because you're making it very custom with a specific mode. And we're seeing a lot of interest in AI for after hours support. So most businesses have the ability through their local phone provider to turn on call forwarding, and they can do it on a calendar. So at 5 p.m., all calls go to your chip number, and that's truly a voice answering machine, right? Because it's giving an answer. And when we have phone calls, I don't know if this one does, your calls show up here with transcript now. So you can see what people said. And again, with that tag feature, we can actually have it alert you for leads, right? So I could create a lead here for price. And if they say the word price, I could turn on my email and send it to myself. And then anytime somebody has a phone call and mentions that, I'm going to actually get an email with the transports to follow up with. So you can start to see how these things stack together, I think, pretty well. Yeah.
Scott, it sounds wonderful, right? Is all the docs and everything available that we can plow through yet, or is it still early stage?
Oh, docs. Yeah, we can make some docs for you, Dominic. Yeah. On the
It's cool,
back end, just so you know, we're using OpenAI real-time voice API and then Twilio SIP SIP, which is like the thing that connects into OpenAI. So ultimately, like, again, we're built on top of those things, right? So you can always look at those.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, great question. I'm just looking at
And
yours.
all of-
Mark has a good question here. Can you ingest
All
that?
of this is available at the moment, right, Scott?
Yeah, so voice I have to turn on for your org, but I can turn it on if it's not already. Every paid plan has it. Yeah, customer greeting. Thanks, Vinay. Yeah, we still have to work on that for web voice. Right now it's only on phone. So that's just an update we need to make. You can text the agent. And right now transcripts are only on phone, not on web voice. Again, that's coming. We need to do some other magic for that. But the dream then is like the other piece, I'll just go to staging. You guys like to see stuff before it's ready. Yeah, the other piece that I think it's in staging already, if not, it will be this probably today, is let's see. Oh, not yet. But we're gonna also have the ability for it to be default voice. So that would mean when I go to my hospitality page, it starts with the particle cloud instead of text. So if you want people to talk, obviously it's a lot smoother if it has the voice right there and they just click enable microphone. That's always going to have to be clicked before it starts. So it's not going to just start talking to them. But we can avoid this step of having to click the microphone. Yeah. Cool. Love building with you guys. Love seeing what you want. I was just going to show this website just to show you how Nexa built this. They use Looker Studio. I thought it was pretty brilliant. Very lightweight. They're pulling in chat logs from Google Sheets, from Google Analytics, and a couple things that the client really loved. You know, they're showing the language, but they're pulling in geography based on country code of the WhatsApp phone number. So that was pretty cool for people. And then they can see they're essentially using Chip to pull out what are the most common questions for the hotel to know. So that's really pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's a really nice use case.
Sorry, one other thing. Do you have like a video, like 2-minute or 1 minute kind of shows the video stuff that's new?
Yeah. I haven't launched it. That's why you haven't seen it. Yeah. So the best video for that is, let's see. No, we did it. Anyway, I'll be launching it soon, but we have, my keynote here actually shows it. but I'll make one just on that. So this is my keynote from our conference 3 weeks ago. So this is where I launched all those features. But to use it, you just need to have it toggled on. This one probably doesn't have it. If you don't see it, you have to reach out because, again, it's not yet connected to our paywalls. But there's a toggle that will say video. If I can get to the right apps. There you go. Yeah. So here's video generation turned on, and I can say something like, make me a video of a British man coding. This does take about 45 to 50 seconds. So I always encourage people, if you're doing this for someone else, probably build in the instructions. I'm going to create that. It'll take, about a minute to generate, right? So you want to kind of set the stage. This is, again, built on Veo 3.1. So maximum 8 seconds. It does include audio. And the same kind of rules apply as always. Like the more detail you give it, the better it'll be. So if you tell it style, camera angle, I've seen people use marked up photos. So if you take a screenshot and you say like zoom out this way or something like that, it'll do that. So there you go. So that's kind of pretty stuff.
Can you control that kind of output? It's, where it says generated video completed. Can you switch that off so that you just get one back or something?
Yeah. You could tell it in the instructions, only do one. I think it's giving me 4 options right now.
Okay.
And you can see what it actually is putting in for the prompt. A realistic cinematic style video of a British man in his late 20s. So it like is taking my little blurb and building some. So if you want to be very specific, you'd want to like tell it not to do that, for example. Great questions, guys. I saw your question, Mark, on ingesting a spec. Yeah, you can do it from more than one endpoint. So that should be fine. Reach out, Mark, if you have any issues. If you want to use like Google Workspace, the way that one works right now is going through either like Composio or Zapier to enable individual OAuth. So essentially, Chip allows you to create OAuth for the entire org and all users. But if I want every single person who touches my app to be able to access their Google Calendar, you have to connect it through another tool. So that's one thing to know for that. I have an awesome video that Carl Lene made on ingesting Slack, and then she has one coming up with Teams. I think that's going to be an underrated, really powerful use case, which is like search through all of our conversations and tell me something, right? So it's like, if you think about where information lives, whether it's a document or a website, a lot of it lives on Teams or Slack. And now if I can reference and pull that in combined with all this other stuff, I think that's pretty powerful. Again, when you think about like using Slack as like a hub like this, you could see where like pulling in from all these places becomes powerful. And now I could call my Slack updater, right? I could call a phone number and get all of that details in one place or something. So I'd say like just to like put a fine bow on it here as we wrap is like, you can build so many things. You need solutions, right? You need a thing that people want that solves a problem for them. And so, there's lots of ways to approach it. And I think for you all, just figure out, is it more custom hands-on, which is usually stickier, higher price point, but takes longer? Or have you built something that a lot of people need that you can really like offer to the masses? I think generally the more industry specific, the easier it is to be on the left-hand side. The more like custom it is for every person who comes in, you're generally going to be more on the right-hand side. One's not better than the other. I think if I was going to say where people are selling the most, it's probably bottom right and top right still, because people are just not sure what they want. I would say we haven't seen many users sell apps one at a time. More interest in bundles, the HQ, and more interest still in combining it with services. So AI on its own, unless it's providing like clear value, I think it is easier to sell as part of your coaching, consulting, education, whatever else. Yeah, I'll take a look at that question. Yeah, Maria gave ideas on the Gold partnership. So I'd love to have anybody here join. There's a course on our academy you can go through. And yeah, we're going to do more of these sessions. Love to learn and build and teach. We are really excited for some of the power we have coming with custom CSS. So you maybe saw, I'll give you a super sneak peek here. It's behind a feature flag because it's really buggy still, but if I have the right place here, I can talk over it. All right, I might need to talk over it, but you will be able to now vibe code how you want Chip to look. So you have full CSS control. Here it is. over your chip chats. And you'll be able to say, even if you don't know what that means, you can say what it wants to look like. So this is coming soon. So you can customize the appearance of your chat interface. You'll be able to add CSS into it or just tell it what you want. And also create specific components. So you want graphs to show up a certain way or weather to show up a certain way or anything like that. So things are going to get more custom and more brand native, I would say. So that's kind of why we're leaning into that word. And if you have ideas around that, let me know. Would love to have your input. And as always, we roll it out to our gold partners first and love to have you guys like create demos that we can test. So cool, excited to see what you guys build with it. Exactly.
Can you
Yeah. So that'll be cool to show. Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about the gold partnership? What, how does that work?
Yeah, sure.
It costs.
Yeah. So gold partner, no cost. Gold partners are people who are focused on selling chip. And so we basically set a goal with you of how much you're trying to sell in a year. We meet twice a month with you to help develop sales materials. You get access not only to meet with us, but also to all of our slides and templates and graphics. You go through a short training course that basically shows how to build with chip, and then you become certified. And then we also like to send leads to our gold partners. So I tease the executive offering. So one thing we're doing is people can come in and upsell with a chip plan. They could buy the chip executive, which is essentially we're going to build either the sales support or marketing agent. And if they buy that, we're going to send that to a gold partner who's going to then do that for $1,500. And then obviously they might build a relationship to do more. So that's kind of the benefits. The commitment is, you're going to try to sell the amount you say. You have an active team or business plan. And we ask that you create one piece of content a month. So that could be a workshop, a blog post, a video, whatever it might be. So that's a high level, and we can talk more if people have questions, but
Cool.
yeah. Whew. It's fun to do this. It makes me feel excited. There's a lot happening. I'm doing my best
So-
to articulate it, but I really love when you guys ask questions. It helps me know what to share.
So when can we get our hands on all this stuff then? Because it sounds like you're almost there, but you're not quite yet.
Yeah.
So
Phone and videos now. So as long as if you don't see it, let me know and I'll turn it on. The CSS stuff, that'll be in the next 2 weeks, probably 2 to 3 weeks. Once we have usage-based turned on all the way, it's pretty easy for us to just offer everything because, you can imagine like creating a video is 60 to 80 cents per video, right? So we could get a little bit stung with that right now if somebody went crazy. So we're just kind of, once that is all in and feeling good, then we'll let our users just build whatever they want because if it's important and you want to pay for it, you can, but it'll all be there for everybody. The most recent Nano Bananas, we should have access to that, Hayden. We are not on that yet, but it just dropped 2 days ago. So we'll get there. And we do have, hopefully, I would love your feedback on this. We got great feedback from Vinay on how to articulate the models. So what we've done is, we kind of have what we are featuring up here. We try to say what they're good at. If you click on any model, you can actually do price estimates. So you can go in here and say how many messages it would be, and it'll give you an estimate. We have scenario planning. We give you kind of the output. This is all dynamic, right? So as the model providers change prices, generally down, that will be reflected immediately. And, what I'm seeing people use is Gemini 2.5 Flash for customer engagement because it's fast and has a huge context. People love Claude still, so Sonnet 4. And then we're doing our deep research with O1, which isn't turned on this one, but yeah. So lots of potential there. I don't want to overemphasize it because I think for end users, it's overwhelming, right? So that's probably more for you as a builder to know. By default, I think we're defaulting to, what are we defaulting to? I think it's 2.5 Pro, Gemini 2.5 Pro on the paid plans is what we're defaulting to right now.
you don't have the latest OpenAI 5.1?
Let's check. I'll get on and plan that again. We can turn on anything. So basically now we're running all of our here's our video. Here's your
Oh, nice. Okay.
does that look like a British person? He's drinking a hot beverage. It must be British.
He's got the tea. He's got the tea.
Yeah. We got 5 mini, not 5.1. And then, yeah, so I'll scroll through here, but these are the ones we have. So basically anything in the last week has not been turned on yet, but
Yeah. So the agentic side of things, the reason why I moved to ChatGPT 5.1 is because of the agentic side of things, the way it would actually go and do its thinking, which was 1 point better than Gemini. Right? When I tried it in Chip, I just couldn't get it to work for some reason. Is it
Yeah.
is it kind of supported yet, or does it kind of like choke on that, or is it? I just could,
Yeah,
it might be.
I mean, we've had a
better.
couple improvements to the API because people have found like certain things like maintaining API key in the header or things like that weren't supported that now are. So I would give it a try. But if something doesn't work and like if we get you in a channel, like you can just tag it and we'll fix it. Like actually AI will probably fix it. But I'll take credit for it.
Like you said.
Also, I would call out like Michael has an awesome demo on using Chip in Lovable, which is really fun. So like as you use other tools, like Chip could also be just the chat interface. And I think especially as we add in these CSS components, like that probably gets even more powerful because now it can really blend into sites. I don't have a battle card right now, Mark, but like that would be really good for us to build, Maria. I know that was kind of our next step of marketing. So if you maybe if you are willing to come off mute, tell me what the last part, what you're kind of thinking. Agentic workflow that moves data from source to destination. So like my company data into a Slack channel or something like that. I don't know if I can hear you, but
You want to speak to you, Scott, apart from me.
that's all right. But yeah, send me more details on that, Mark. I'd love to dig into that. I'll put this link in the chat for Michael's session for creating distribution. So we love highlighting folks who have specialties. So I don't know if it's led to anything yet for you, Michael, but we had some good conversations on LinkedIn with some of the Lovable team, and we kind of send people here now. So good chance to share what you're doing. Cool. Automate payment reconciliation.
Thanks, Scott. Gotta run. Great stuff, man.
That's great. Yeah, no, we can wrap. I'd say just a quick answer, Mark. Like, it should be possible. We have a client that uses Chip for all of their ticketing system. So they use a tool called Freshdesk. And essentially what Chip does is every time a ticket's created, it drafts a response that their team can then say yes or no to. If they say yes, it'll send it to the client. It will also then ping them in Slack status of tickets, and it'll automatically close tickets if the associate sends a response and the AI determines that it feels like a closing statement, it'll close the ticket automatically for them too. So there's definitely ways to plug Chip into these other tools. You can, it sounds like you have technical ability, anything with an API you can do. If you want it to be easier, a remote MCP server is usually the term I'm looking for, as like I can quickly connect this via MCP. So not everything offers that, however. So yeah, that's one trick.
MCP yet for this one. It is just a hard business function to do. And so trying to put some intelligence around that, and or finance people that have to do it often.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I would just think about like for finance use cases, like the model will matter a lot. So test it on some of the deeper reasoning models and see how it does. So that's how I would start. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, great to have you guys. I know we went long, but really fun to hear your use cases and try to help everything out. So let me know what else you want to see. You kind of got a tease of some of the features. And so I'll be rolling those out next Tuesday. I would love to share. We're announcing our partnership with Stripe and Google. Stripe is powering exactly what you saw today with the models, being able to keep all of that up to date for us. And then Google is obviously powering like the ZDR and the video. So we'll be announcing that. If you can share it, that would help us it's good to feel like we're in that class. That makes us feel special. So, but yeah, for those in the US, happy Thanksgiving. For everybody else, have a great week and weekend, and we'll talk to you soon online. See you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.